or because you seem to think it was going to happen all along?
No, I never said it was going to happen all along.
You were optimistic.
Well, I'm always optimistic. But I think we crossed a threshold today, and it has to do with an historic decision that was made about 30 years ago to have emergency extenders. These extenders that we are passing are not necessarily designed to meet with legislative approval on the substance. They're designed to be voted on by the legislature because the public policy behind the legislation that was made law about 30 years ago is that the governor will decide what happens week to week in the budget until the legislature comes to a conclusion. The legislature has options. My legislative budget bill has been on their desk for 5 months. They could have voted it up or down. They could vote what they consider to be their own budget and put it on my desk to be signed. But neither of these processes came to conclusion. The legislature abdicated its responsibility. And under the law, I am empowered with the option of making these decisions in absence of any leadership here in Albany. And the decisions I've made are tough. They are difficult. But they are the only way to pass a budget without transferring problems to the next administration, which I'm not going to do on my watch. And therefore, the reason that the emergency extenders were passed, and some of the people who voted for it said they don't agree with it, but they pass it because they believe in government and they know the unimaginable consequences of a government shutdown.
Republicans had said they would vote for it. You do have some Republican support, but they seem almost indignant about it. Like they don't want to be voting for it, like you just mentioned. It really is a situation that's putting pressure on lawmakers here.
Well, I think they acted very responsibly, and whether they're indignant or not, they did the right thing, and I thank them for that. The reality is that we welcome their understanding of the value of government and would like to include them as much as we can in the process, and I got 17 proposals for $400 million reduction in Medicaid from the Republicans, but none of them are real. Most of them are void under the new Health Care Reform Act, and some of them actually cost money rather than saving money. But I don't care what party people are affiliated with. I need to balance $9.2 billion of deficit without excessive fees or excessive borrowing, and that's what I'm going to do.
Now, last night you told reporters that all this talk of there's progress with budget, there's progress with the budget is not true. Again, the leaders left meeting with you earlier today and said there's progress, they feel like they're getting closer. Is that still not true? Was there any progress in this meeting that you had with them today?
If it takes optimism to motivate them to act, then I'm happy that they're optimistic. What I know is that we are about $1.6 billion away from each other. It changes hour to hour in terms of an agreement, and when you're 1.6 billion anything, whether it's miles or dollars, it sure sounds like a far distance to move to me.
That does sound very far.
How about the plan that's being discussed about borrowing money from pensions to kind of pay for some of what the state owes at the moment? Can you talk about that a little bit?
That's actually not designed as much to pay for what the state owes as it is designed to ameliorate a 30% loss in the state's pension fund between 2008 and 2009 because of the stock market crash. And so it saves us a certain amount, but what it really allows us to do is to finance that period over a longer period of time. It doesn't really save that much money. It just creates a situation where if the economy comes back and we invest well, as we have in the past, we might not even have to pay that much of it at all.
Governor, we heard that there's a deal on the table to restore about $400 million to education in exchange for zeroing out AIM funding. Is that something that is being talked about and we could possibly see?
That's something that was presented to us, and we're talking to them, but we recognize the difficulty of replacing the restorations in education with other cuts. See, they gave us the restoration, but they didn't tell us what we could cut in place of it, and until they do, it will be in the talk stage and not final.
It seems like we're just going around and round in circles, that they keep giving you suggestions and then you say that it's not real savings, and then you start from scratch again, it seems.
Well, how can restoring $400 million to education be savings? That sounds like spending to me.
What
Or
type
maybe I'm just missing something.
What type of revenue raisers are you going to propose or put in the next extender bills that you said you're at the point where you might start forcing their hand more in terms of?
I haven't decided what I'm putting in the revenue bills.
Speaker Silver said today you talked about the cigarette taxes and enforcing those within the leaders' meeting. Is that something that could possibly be in the budget as a revenue raiser?
Well, it's in my budget proposal, so I certainly would hope it could be a part of the budget. Because I don't see these as taxes as in personal income taxes. We spend $7.5 billion a year on health care costs related to smoking. And we're just asking the people who are participating in that activity, which is legal, to pay the taxes for the health care costs that the rest of the taxpayers incur by doing it. Same with our sugar tax on sugar-flavored beverages, which actually costs us $8 billion a year. The obesity rate among young people in the state is 25%, and minority communities, it's as high as 38%. When are we going to get that the same kids who used to run around all the time and burn up energy are now sitting around consuming products that are creating obesity and diabetes right before our very eyes? And when those parents realize that it is directly attributable to sugar in products that they're using, particularly soft drinks, they're going to come down to Albany, and they will be invading this place just as much as they did to the Greek Parliament a few weeks ago. And when they get here, they'll know that we tried to do the right thing. The legislature can speak for itself.
Governor, just given the rate of how things are going, do you think we could see a budget by the time session is scheduled to end, which is next Monday?
I think that would be difficult, but I would settle for actually an agreement. There's a mechanical process that would take a little while after that, but if we could come to an agreement by next Monday, we'd be in pretty good shape. Let's just remember, if we don't come to an agreement, we will now have frittered away 1/4 of the year, and now we have crammed the deficit from 12 months into 9 months, and that's $9.2 billion. That will be a very bitter pill for the public to swallow.
Thank you, Governor.